Hello. My name's Sam and welcome to my channel, which is So Let's Sparkle with Sam. And today I'm here to talk to you about knickers, pants, panties, knickers, knickknacks, whatever you want to call them. This is what I'm here to talk to you about. So in this video, I'll do a full sew along tutorial on how to make a pair of pants just like this. But as you know, not all pants, knickers, are made equal. So I am using a free pattern, which is the Stevie Pants by Paper Theory, as a base. But you can adapt your pants or knickers or underwear however you want to wear it. So I've just raided my underwear drawer to bring you a few different types of knickers that I like to make. So this is my favourite, which is the bog standard Stevie Paper Theory pattern, free pattern, no mods, just in the size. I go on my hip measurements rather than my waist measurements for these. And I just make them out of any scrap fabric. So if you've got a favourite tank or a favourite t-shirt and you think, oh, wouldn't it be lovely to have matching pants, then you can make them with a surprisingly small amount of jersey fabric. It has to have at least 20% stretch, but you can use any of your kind of jerseys, cotton lycras, any of your stretchy fabrics. I would go for cottons if you can, because obviously that's just nicer and more breathable against your skin. But yeah, so that's my kind of go-to, and this is the one that I will be showing you how to sew in the sew along. If, however, you are not a big fan of elastic and you just want a plain pair have the self fabric bands, then you can make this type of pair of underwear. Now this is a pattern from Waves and Wild, which is the Wonder Undies, and you use the self fabric as your bands. But you could always use this pattern, measure your length around here, whichever your size is, and then 80% of that is your band, and then you stretch in exactly the same way as I show you to make these, but then you can make them with all the same fabric. So if you are copying the Sewing Bees, for example, if you wanted to make a pair of knickers out of an old t-shirt, this would be a great method to use. Saves you having to buy any elastic. If you fancy going a bit fancy, because you know everyone needs their fancy pants, then you can add elasticated lace. So for these ones I've got some elasticated waist. I used a fancy picot elastic on the legs and then a lace on the top. And this type can be bought as part of a kit from Beyond the Pink Door. Andrea does a knickers kit and it comes with the lace and the picot elastic. So if you fancy some fancy pants. Now these pants are very special to me, and this is the reason why I've chosen the pattern to show the sew along for you. So these pants were made with a bee. So the lovely Kaz, the winner of last season's Sewing Bee, came to the Sparkly Studio and we made pants together. So yes, me and Kaz had a lovely day in the Sparkly Studio making some pants, and I made these, which with the little rosy cheeks label that says normal gets you nowhere, and Kaz very kindly gifted me this It's All Pants label. And whenever I see Kaz, or I know that I'm going to go and see Kaz, I wear my Kaz pants. We made 2 pairs, so it's always a guess which ones I'm wearing. But these are also the Paper Theory Stevie Pants knickers, as well as these. Now, a couple of things before you start making your knickers. Don't worry about the size. If you were to compare a pair, so these are freshly made, and these ones were made a little while ago. These ones are a lot smaller than these ones. So because they shrink in the wash, they kind of get more to your body shape as you wear and wash them. So don't get worried and think, oh, they look ginormous. You'll find that they're probably really comfortable because you've made them the size to fit you. So first things first, let's get worried about the size of them. Me made pants are always going to be bigger than the pants that you buy in the shops. It's just because of the fabrics that we use and the fabrics that manufacturers use. But you're just going to know that you're going to have a perfect pair of pants that matches your style. And if you want to, there is a brand new challenge coming out in August called Be Bold, and it's been run by my lovely friend Bex at What Bex Sews. And she has a fabric shop with her lovely friend Adele, and they sell very bold and bright fabrics. So I think making pants in itself is a bold move. But if you fancy using some bolder fabrics but don't fancy wearing them but know that you've got them on, then it's a great way to use some bold fabrics to make yourself some pants. So yeah, sit back, relax, enjoy the sew along. If you do happen to make some pants with me, then don't forget to tag me in, and I'll see you on the other side. So I'm armed with my back piece, my 2 gusset pieces and my front piece, and my clips and pins. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my first gusset piece and I'm going to lay it so it's right sides together, the back to the back, so that should line up nicely, and then pin or clip those together. And if, like me, your jersey is rolling a little bit, then what I'll do is I do the edges first and then kind of give it a little pull, and that sometimes unrolls it. If not, just unroll it with your fingers. So that's that, and then roll it open, and then again right sides together. For the front piece, I like to line up the middle bit, the middle notch first. Some people prefer pins. I prefer clips. I don't know, I just prefer clips when I'm using jersey because I don't like to get pins anywhere near my overlocker. So then you've got something that looks like that and you've got the clips underneath. So now you're going to roll up the front so it goes into the gusset, and roll up the back nice and tight. So that goes into the gusset, and then as you can see, you've got your pieces here. So you've got your back seam and your front seam, and then you just lay this gusset over the top. And then just transfer the clips. Keeping it all nicely lined up. Same with the front gusset. There are a lot of layers in this, and sometimes the rolls of the front and the back make it a bit difficult. Persevere, you can do it. I have faith in you. So there you have, and then you go to your overlocker or your sewing machine and you're going to sew that side, that seam and that seam, just making sure you don't catch any of your front piece or back piece as you're sewing. So as these are my rainbow vibes only knickers, it would have been rude not to use rainbow overlocking, which is what I've done. And so now you can literally turn them through, and then you have the outside of your pants and the inside, and then you've got on the gusset. If you wanted to just use plain white on the gusset or a plain colour on the gusset, you can. I'm just wanting to use up every last scrap of this fabric, so I've used it throughout. And then that is basically how your knickers go together. So now all we need to do is pop the elastic on. So using the chart that I have with my pattern, I've got a measurement for my waist elastic and then my leg elastic. And obviously I've got 2 lengths of leg elastic and 1 waist elastic. So you need to check what measurements you need for those. And then with all of these, you need to half and quarter the elastic. So you need to find the half and quarter points. So the easiest way to do that is to fold them in half and then pin, and then fold it in half again and then pin those points so that you've marked the half and quarter points of all of your elastics. Then once you've done that, you need to find the half and quarter points of your pants. So we're going to start with the leg. So we'll start with one leg. So if we open it out and fold it in half, so it's half of this measurement that we're looking for. So if you line up the edge to the edge, the edge to the edge, like so, that's our halfway point. So I'm just going to pop, for the sake of this, I'm going to put a clip on it because it makes it easier for you to see. And then if I make this point match this point, then I've got my quarter point here. So I'm going to mark there and there. So basically I've marked 3 points across the legs, and then obviously you've got the ends. So I've basically got from here to here to here to here to here. And then I've marked those points across the leg, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So before I take you over to the sewing machine to show you how to sew this onto the sewing machine, I'm going to first show you while it's flat and easier to show you. So I've marked the points on my elastic and also on my pants. I'm going to take the top of the elastic to the top mark, and I'm going to fold that over there. So I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to pop one of my clips in there to hold it in place. And then the idea is that as you're sewing, you are matching each point. So it's like matching your notches. So I'm matching that one from the top, and then this one needs to finish here. So this is how much I have to pull to make that match. And then once that one's in place, then I'm pulling this one to match the next one, and so forth all the way down. So it just gives you an idea of how much you're pulling on the elastic. You're not pulling your pants, you're pulling the elastic to make it fit onto the leg. And you do that on both legs. So I'm over at my sewing machine, and there is my stitches. So I've got 6, which is mine is a zigzag, and then I've got 4 and 2.5. So whatever you need to do on yours, mine is quite a wide zigzag, and it's because what I like to do is I like to get it to go all the way across so it catches in all of the fabric, and that's particularly important when it gets to the gusset part of the fabric, which you will see when we get to that bit. So the first bit is a little bit tricky because it's just about getting it all lined up. Now you will notice that I don't pin, I kind of position as I go. I've already got my pins for my notches, and I feel like if I don't need to pin before I sew. And then I've got my first position here, so I know that this is my first piece. This pin needs to match this notch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that pin out, and I'm going to pop that position where that clip is there, and I'm going to clip that on like so. And then pull it gently and then sew using the zigzag stitch all the way down here, nice and slowly. And what I like to do is I like to keep my fingertips running over it to make sure that the fabric is still inside and that everything is lined up nicely. I've got a jersey needle in my sewing machine. So just continue zigzag stitching all the way down. I'm just checking as I go down. And then when you come to the next marker, you get your next point and you mark that up with your halfway points of your gusset. So I'm just going to do that here. I'm pulling it off camera because I need to make sure that it's pulled taut. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in. And unfortunately, I can't get a wider shot. So keep going down. Take that clip out. It does help if you have extra hands for this. Which is why I find the clips are quite good, because it can kind of hold it in place while you find the next notch. Once you get to the gusset, make sure that you have the gusset enclosed, and then you just keep going until you've done the whole leg, and then do the other leg. So here are the knickers with the elastics put on both of the legs, and as you can see, it's all enclosed nicely. And then what you need to do is you need to sew just one of the side seams. So you put your pants together, choose your favourite side seam, line it up at the sides, pin or clip in place, and then you're going to sew along that edge there. So I've come in nice and close for this bit because just to show you, so what I've done is I've sewn 1 centimetre from the edge with a lightning stitch. So that's a very kind of like fine zigzag stitch, which is a stretch stitch on most machines. If you have got Mariflex thread, you could just do a straight stitch. And I've done that all the way through to the legs. And then if you open this seam out, you don't need to worry about finishing these edges because they're jersey, so they won't fray. And then what I like to do is I like to just trim along here and then zigzag again along here, and then that just keeps it all nice and neat. And then we're going to pop the elastic on the waistband exactly the same way as we did the legs, just by half and quartering it and then sewing it along. So in exactly the same way as I did the legs, I have half and quartered my pants and half and quartered my elastic, and then I've just clipped at those points. So I'm going to be pulling through on the machine those points exactly the same way that I did before using the wide zigzag. So now all you have to do is pop this together. So right sides together, making sure that you're lining up the elastics. You may need to cut any kind of excess elastic off. I like to just get them to line up on the edge, clip on the edge, clip on that edge, and then sew this side seam in the same way as we did before. Open it up and then zigzag both edges down. I just find by zigzagging, pressing this open and zigzagging the edge gives a nice clean finish on the inside as well as the outside. And there you have it, a nice pair of rainbow pants ready to wear. So you might find that the elastic is a little bit wibbly on the first time that you make them, but once you wash them and wear them, that kind of sorts itself out. It's just in the making process it tends to go a bit wibbly wobbly, but actually once you wear them, you don't even notice. So I've just taken them to the iron using an iron cloth so I don't touch the iron with my elastic. On my elastic, I've given them a nice press, and as you can see, it's all laying nice and flat now. But just a note for the elastic that I use. So I'm very sensitive to knicker elastic. This is one of the nicest ones that I've found. It doesn't feel as synthetic. It still is synthetic. It has got a little bit of cotton in it, but it still is synthetic because that is just elastic. But it is the nicest one that I've found. It's called Soft Touch. It's a matte elastic. It's not shiny. It's a fold over elastic, and it's soft to the touch, and it's a non-shiny. It's a matte feel. This one is 20 millimeters, which means that you get a centimeter on each side, which I think is nice and easy to catch everything in. So yeah, so there you go. I hope you enjoyed my little knicker tutorial, and if you have a go at making your own knickers, then don't forget to tag me in. I'm So Let's Sparkle on Instagram and other social medias, and yeah, enjoy. Happy sewing. Don't forget to sparkle.